This is Rod Boomer Guitar Sessions, and today we are going to start looking at how to play the impossible guitar parts. So now, when I say this, here's one of the things that I think that people overlook, because most people don't know how to read music. Most people, when they look at this big scary, they get the guitar magazines and they get the big scary transcription, they can't make the most out of it. Okay, so, or they're not making the most out of it. They don't know what they're looking at and all that kind of stuff. Is there any tips that we can do to get ourselves mentally prepared in order to digest some of the stuff that is in there? We're going to talk tips, okay? In the lesson today, in the description, I'm going to post a transcription of sorts, or pieces of a transcription of a piece that you can use when you're working on this lesson. So, by the way, plus the normal lesson stuff. So, with that said, how do you do the impossible guitar stuff? How do you take that information off of transcriptions? First of all, what is a transcription? When we say something's a transcription, what we're talking about is, let me see if I can pull this thing up. This is a transcription. I had a student yesterday. Quick Death in Texas. Quick Death in Texas by Clutch. I transcribed some of the riffs. That's a transcription. You write it out. You figure out exactly what's going on. Absolutely no for noting it. Okay. Now, in my youth, the big scary monster was the Randy Rhoads solos, the Eddie Van Halen solos, all those kinds of things. How can we take something that is written on paper and make sense out of it, other than just looking at the tablature? Okay, because the other information matters too. And the other information can help us play it quicker if we understand the context. So that is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. What we want to get into, first off, when you're listening to a solo, if you're just getting started with this, play solos that have melody to it. And every solo at some point should have a little bit of melody to it. It's not some sort of melodic thing that is going on in it, something that is hummable. Okay? Even the Randy Rhoads, Van Halen guitar solos, the stuff that is transcribable is the melody portion of it. The stuff that you hear. So rule number one is internalize any melodic content that you get in a solo. All right, internalize it. Sing it back. And if you see it written on the page, sometimes these are the harder things to read, because they're not just 16th notes, or they're not just sextuplets. They're all kinds of different rhythms, because it's something that you would be singing. So now the other thing, the next thing that we can think about when we are taking a piece of transcription off a printed page is, when we're looking at it, we want to check out, and we want to think, and we want to consider what scales are being used in order to pull this off, because the people that have created it know some stuff, and it's not random. Okay, even genius always follows clues. It's like, even Eddie Van Halen, there's rules to what he does. Okay, there's scales to what he uses. There's symmetrical exercises, symmetrical things, and tremolo picking, and whammy, and tapping, and all this kind of stuff. So know your scales, okay? And anytime you have like I'm thinking the Randy Rhoads one I just pulled off. So that is kind of combining a blues scale with a natural minor scale. So but once I understand the fingering, and I'm looking at the music, and all that stuff says it's 16th notes. 16th notes are easy. Tibby, 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 tibby. Eighth notes are T, 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 T. The sextuplets are duddla, 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 duddla. It's like triplets, but twice double speed. All right. So know your scales. Know your scales and try to like the impossible guitar part. Try to narrow it down to that he's just playing this scale, and then I'm going to be playing this rhythm with this scale, and with notes in this order. Number 3, I isolate the musical context. Musical context, like a lot of times when a lot of scary guitar stuff, say like something like this, something easy. So whenever you see this, lots of scary guitar stuff, Randy Rhoads or the Van Halens of the world, or whoever, a lot of the fluff that they do, the show off, and Randy Rhoads will say, this is just flash for the kids. Okay, it's exciting, and I've been listening to it for 40 years, and I'm so excited over it. But what he is doing is he's taking a pattern, okay, and then a lot of times what he'll do is he'll make that pattern chromatic, take that up chromatically. All right, so sextuplets are a so you get that rhythm in your and any way we can play sextuplets we want to try. So like here's a so any we consider lots of once you get the rhythm, how can we pull that sound off? Whatever techniques we use, like dulla. That's a sextuplet. All right. So anyway, maybe it's maybe it's pentatonic-y based, and then he does the chromatic stuff. Tremolo picking. Maybe it's tappy. Whatever it is, figure out what the technique is, along with the scale, and that'll give you a context to get you there. You're not, when you're reading these threatening, intimidating transcriptions, it's a combination of the rhythms, it's a combination of techniques, and if you can isolate the rhythm and isolate the technique and be able to slow it down and play and figure it out and brainiac it, then you're on your way. So number 4, in general, learn how to read rhythms. Learn how to read your quarter notes, whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, and rhythms and rests. You want to know your eighth notes, every combination of eighth notes, dotted, quarter notes, and eighths. Triplets, 16th notes, sextuplets, quintuplets. Okay, so these are all things that we want to check out. Rhythmic notation. It's a good thing to buy drum books, like drum methods, because drum methods have all different kinds of different rhythmic combinations. It's like rhythm is rhythm. You don't have to just be hitting on just guitar books that have rhythm in it. It's a musical concept, not a guitar concept. Rhythm, phrasing, and reading rhythms. It's across the board. Take any piece of music you can and check out the rhythms in it. Okay? Number 5, by mastering the techniques, you'll see the techniques as they're happening written in the music. Number 6, what I also do is I might not even be looking to play the entire solo right out the gate. What I might want to do is just let's take this tricky part of the section. Let's isolate the rhythms for it. Be able to play the rhythms. be able to play the orders and rhythms, be able to play the orders of rhythms, the rhythms and the techniques involved in doing it. Okay, so just go through the solos, and this is a tricky part I want to check out. And the more you do this process of not ignoring the fact that, like, the rhythms that you're reading in this Gary tablature, or this Gary transcription rather, that's going to help you. Okay, knowledge of that is going to help you. The knowledge of 16th notes versus triplets versus quintuplets versus sextuplets, whatever the rhythm is, knowing that's going to help you. And the more you do it, the better you get. The better you get, it becomes fun. Okay, and then you can test yourself. I can do this. Test yourself. And you can gamify it. You can gamify it. Like, can I read just taking the transcriptions out of magazines and trying to get whatever you can get? And every time you do that, you're flexing that muscle. Okay. And I think this is also very, very good to do, because this is a way that rock and metal and blues guitar players can learn to read music and have a use for reading music. Because a lot of times we don't have a use for reading music, because nobody's going to put a piece of music on a music stand and ask us to play like Chuck Berry. Okay, that's not how we learn it. But if we understood that the idea of triplets and the idea of straight eighth notes and the idea of all these different things that Chuck Berry, the rhythms he used, that would make our learning of the solo so much easier. All right, transcription. Why is it a powerful tool? Learning to play by ear is a powerful tool. And anything we can do in order to get better at that is something we should do if we want to stay into this in the long haul. If we really want to work our chops up, and we want to see what we can do, and we don't want to be afraid. I know I did this when I was 12 years old, and it's like, but it was super hard then, and then you think forevermore that that's the case, and it often isn't. Okay, give it a shot. Even if it's slowed down, even if the phrase is slowed down. So it's kind of like you're deciphering the impossible, and it's fun. It can be fun. Okay, it's a reframe from my 12-year-old self, but it's absolutely true. Okay, so with that said, this is Rod Boomer Guitar Sessions, deciphering the impossible, working on transcriptions and trying to get to the point where we can break things down, and we can and we can learn note for noting and not ignore written transcriptions, and also do it, some of that by ear. Use your ear. Your ear is never a bad thing. Okay, I will take a solo, and I will cut it up in the song, and like in a wave format, and then I will make it the solo, and I will repeat it 20 times, and I put it in my software that I can slow it down, and that's a great practice tip too. So anyway, this is Rod Boomer Guitar Sessions, episode 81. How do you play the impossible stuff? How do you learn the impossible stuff? Reading for the rock and metal guitar player, reading for rock guitar players. How can we use it and get the most out of things? So anyway, I hope this was helpful, and we'll be talking about this more in the future. Any questions you have, just post them in the comments. Okay, appreciate you. Like, subscribe, share with 50 of your closest friends, and I'll see you next time. Hi, this is Rod from Boomer Guitar Sessions. I personally wanted to thank you for being part of our community. If you like what we're doing here and you want to see more of it, please hit the like, subscribe, and share. And this helps me spread my musical messages to all over the world. Thank you. I appreciate you. And always remember, you can do this.